On a typical day at the International Space Station, astronauts wake up to the sound of thunder. It's not unusual to hear some noise when you're living in a weightless world. In fact, it's one of the many strange things that happen on a daily basis aboard the ISS. But don't worry. We're not talking about zero gravity here. The astronauts do experience that occasionally, but they also spend a lot of time in microgravity, which is a much more pleasant sensation. And it's definitely not something you want to miss out on if you have the chance to visit the ISS. In this video, we'll take you on a typical day aboard the space station and show you what it's really like to live and work in microgravity. Get ready for an adventure that will leave you feeling weightless with laughter. Let's go. The first thing you should know about life on the ISS is that it's not all that different from life on Earth. Sure, there are some obvious differences, like the fact that you're floating around in a metal box above the planet. But the day-to-day routine is pretty similar. Wake up, make breakfast, check your instruments, maybe take a spacewalk or two, then go to bed and do it all again tomorrow. Of course, there are some added perks to living on the ISS, like the incredible view and the chance to do science experiments in zero gravity. But for the most part, it's just a job. And a very important job at that. When you're living on the ISS, you're constantly monitoring the health of the station and its systems. You're also conducting experiments to learn more about how the human body adapts to life in space. And if that's not enough, you're also responsible for keeping the place clean. After all, you are sharing a home with your crewmates for months at a time. So, just like on Earth, it takes a village to keep the ISS running smoothly. But what happens when a critical component of that system fails? What if the tether holding an astronaut to the station during a spacewalk breaks? Don't panic. Astronauts are trained for every possible scenario, even the ones that seem fun. If the worst were to happen and an astronaut's tether did break, they would have backup systems to ensure their safety. First, they'd release the secondary tether, which would deploy an emergency parachute to bring them back to the station. And if that failed, they'd have a manual backup system to activate the station's robotic arm and pull themselves back on board. So while it might be scary to think about, an astronaut's tether breaking during a spacewalk isn't exactly the disaster movie scenario you might imagine. It's just another Tuesday at the ISS. So what are you waiting for? Pack your bags and get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Who knows? You might just end up living on the ISS and experiencing all the wonders of life in microgravity.